Mr. Ryan Castro, kickboxing MMA fighter, pro fighter, and great friend. What's going on, Ryan?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, man. You know, making the most of this quarantine.
How's the newborn over there? Actually, she's about a year old now, right?
Yeah, she's actually a year and 2 months now.
Very
Growing
nice.
Fast, you know, it's got me wrapped around her finger.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Daddy's little girl.
100%, man. My life is no longer my own, to say the least.
Very nice.
All about her.
Very nice. Well, I know you had a fight coming up, and with the whole coronavirus and the whole situation and epidemic, it was canceled. Has there been a reschedule of the fight, or are you fighting again?
Yeah, they claim to be pushing the event to May 29th, but I got to be honest, from the start, I kind of had a weird feeling about this whole thing because this coronavirus has, been brewing since I think November of 2019 when I first heard about it. And, with all the hype and these numbers increasing, I just don't see it happening,
Mm-hmm.
As much as I want to believe in it and count on it. I'm still training for it. It's tough, man. It's tough to just see the light at the end of the tunnel for a turnaround that quick,
We are speaking to Ryan Castro, MMA fighter, kickboxing champion. I've been talking to Anthony, and we've been going back and forth with what's going on in the MMA world. We were just speaking about Khabib and Ferguson, how Khabib decided to fly all the way to Russia 7 or 8 days before his fight. And he has come out on ESPN, analyst or whoever his publicist is, has come out and said he will fight Ferguson in August, which probably means he's not fighting April 14th. What are your thoughts with the MMA world and what this coronavirus the epidemic is doing? And then the fact that this fight that everybody's been looking to grasp and actually watch, it has been canceled not once, not twice, not 3 times, but now 4 times in the last 5 years.
It's so insane. You almost want to hold them responsible for the virus itself because it just seems like every time they try to make this fight, something happens, and seems like it's progressively a worse situation every time. I'm like, I had no faith in this fight happening this time. I didn't think about it. I didn't want to believe it, because I don't know. It's like a bad dream,
So basically, you're of the belief, same thing as Errol and probably myself, that you're never going to see these two guys in the ring ever.
No, there's no way. It would have happened already. How many? If you look at the history of the sport itself, has there ever been a fight that they've tried to make so many times that doesn't happen? It's unheard of,
Yeah.
So you think this is going down the road? Do you think this is going down the road of, eventually we're going to see these guys fighting in their 40s like we did Mayweather and Pacquiao, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even if, I'm really concerned for the sport entirely. I feel like with this pandemic, you're starting to see a shift in the way that we live our lives now. And that's what concerns me. I don't know, if these numbers keep on increasing and people keep on dropping and so on and so forth, who's to say that they'll ever allow events like that? We might come to a point where they're going to do everything, from home. Like they're not going to let crowds in. Maybe I'm thinking a little bit too far ahead and maybe not, as positive as I usually like to think, but I don't know, man. I just got a bad feeling about this thing.
We are speaking to Ryan Castro, MMA fighter, kickboxing champion. Ryan, when you look at the way and the state of fighting is concerned, Bellator is no longer, they don't have pay-per-views anymore. They have canceled their pay-per-views. And I'm not even talking about Corona. They just weren't making enough money. Bellator wasn't making enough money for the pay-per-views, so they decided they're not even doing pay-per-views anymore. And the state of the UFC, and me and Anthony go back and forth the last couple of weeks on this, is who is the next big fighter in the UFC? You have Conor McGregor that comes back. You have John Jones now that gets arrested for what? Four times?
Yeah.
4 times he's been arrested. So he's going to be suspended for at least a year now again. So Reyes and him, number 2, is never going to happen. That's not going to happen. So where is the UFC going? Where is their next big champion? I don't see it.
It's hard to see it too, but I think they're really building up Masvidal. There's a lot of hype behind him. You could pretty much match that guy up against anybody at 155 and 170, and, you know, people are going to get hyped to see him. But here's the thing. Now, this guy loses, right? Then what? Then who's the next big draw?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's momentum and hype is all about victories. You know what I mean? He has a lot of losses on his record, a lot of losses that I don't even believe he deserves. But more or less, you know, you could win 3, 4, 5 fights in a row. You lose one bad fight, then your reputation is destroyed. It's like starting from the ground up.
The funny thing is, he hasn't even won 5 or that many fights in a row because, like you said, he's got a lot of losses.
Like 3, right?
Exactly. He's only on a 3-fight win streak, and one of them came from. And I think the big one was that whole knee knockout.
Diaz. The Nate Diaz one.
No, the biggest one, unfortunately, was the Askren knee. But Askren was half dead anyway before he got in the ring.
I'm not a big fan of Askren anyways.
No,
I never believed that hype, man.
Yeah, he's a wrestler.
He's, you know, in the B League, C League.
Yeah.
Kind of.
He went over. Askren came over here. And
as part of the trade for Mighty Mouse.
And Mighty Mouse went over there.
They lost that trade.
And to be honest with you, Askren should have lost his first fight, but somehow he wasn't knocked out. His face was bleeding, and he tapped out. What's his name again?
The Robbie Lawler?
Robbie Lawler,
when
yes.
When he popped back up and Herb Dean was all apologetic?
Absolutely, because Robbie Lawler won that fight. It was absolutely a ripoff. And then finally he went into a second fight. He was an undefeated fighter. This guy's a wrestler, but there is no other fighter. I'm going up and down their roster right now, and I'm telling you right now, there is nobody on their roster that really stands out. Who's going to fight Amanda Nunes?
You're right.
Who's going to fight Amanda Nunes?
I'm not excited for any of these cards that really that they make. As stacked as people want to see them, they're like, oh, because they jam title fights now, interim titles, top contenders. But I couldn't tell you last time I bought a pay-per-view because it just doesn't excite me. There's no flavor, man. It's not like it was back in the day when you had Chuck and Tito and, you know, these old school guys who had their own character.
Matt Hughes and GSP.
Yeah, he was, you know, unbelievable. It's like everybody now I feel like is like watered down.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and you want to know something?
They all kind of act the same. They all kind of talk the same. They try to follow the same, you know, guidelines, talking shit on the Twitters and all these interviews. It's like, it just seems staged. Since the UFC was bought off, it seems a lot more like the wrestling nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I think when it comes to building a lot of those names, building that next wave, you know, commercially they're not doing that much education with it, not to mention they're not showing their faces. So there's not a lot of knowledge like they used to do. If nobody's noticed, they replaced, and I mean, it's pretty bad when it goes from one thing to the other like this, but a lot of times if it's not broke, don't fix it. They replaced the Ultimate Fighter with the Contender Series. So now you're bringing a lot of guys in that nobody knows. I mean, when you look at it from the standpoint of unless you're on YouTube all the time and you're following everything on Tapology, you're not going to know who a lot of those guys are. We, thankfully, just because we're in the New York area, we all know William Knight. William Knight was the most, you know what I mean? Or
you want to hear something funny? You know, they offered me a fight with him. They offered me $10,000 on a day's notice to fight him at 205 pounds. This was earlier this year.
Do you know why that doesn't surprise me? Ryan, how many weight classes have you fought in, man? You see him laughing because probably the only one he hasn't fought at is heavyweight.
And you know what? Maybe one day I will. But truthfully, the only reason why I fought at middleweight, that catchweight with Eric, was because we were so familiar with him. Right. You know, I trained with him for years. There was no surprises there. We knew how that fight would play out more or less. Not saying that I wouldn't fight at that weight again if the money was right, or, you know, if my weight was out of control. But
Ryan, I'm telling you, Ryan will fight at heavyweight. I'm sorry, not that I'm trying to talk like you're not here.
He loves you. He loves you.
He will fight at heavyweight just to say that he did it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, just to say that he did it. That's the way he is.
It sounds like him.
I'm trying to get these guys to let me fight more than once in a night, especially if I'm kickboxing. You know,
you want the tournament back?
4-man or 8-man, kickboxing tournament, 2 rounds at a clip, and just like eliminate it through. I think that would,
Basically, you need that glory. You need that glory deal. You need that glory deal now with pro kickboxing.
Right now, I've taken a step out of MMA because I really wanted to get as comfortable as I can striking and strike with the best strikers that are out there, gradually work my way up. And then, once I get a comfortable 10 kickboxing fights that are like hard fought victories, not, me just walking through somebody, I think that's when I'll go back into MMA. That's more or less my plan right now.
I got to tell you this. You didn't even know this happened. There was, as we all know, okay, I've refereed a lot of fights. I've refereed a lot of Ryan's fights. And when when Ryan's got in the ring, Ryan is one of those guys that and I'm not doing it to kiss your ass or anything.
Yes,
you're one of those, maybe a little bit. You're one of those guys that the UFC would really like. I mean, if you ever see just his pre-fight, disposition, you know what I mean? It's meant for posters. He's posing, constantly posing.
Yeah,
Ryan likes to talk to.
One time,
he does.
No, this is the honest God truth.
Yes,
One time, I was on my way to a fight that you were participating in. I was reffing that night. Somebody called me and said, "Ant, I don't know if we could do this." And what happened was the boss wasn't around, so they had somebody there just to fill in a spot. Long story short, they asked me if we go to Castro's coach and ask, can we have an MMA fight if they both agree to no kicks? I swear to Jesus this happened. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but I swear to Jesus this happened.
Did.
No, because I said, do not dare go and ask anyone over there. Because at this time, you were still with East West. Okay.
Yeah.
Do not, I said, that was Coach Bobby. I said, do not go over and ask Coach Bobby that ridiculous request. Because
he would have walked out with the whole team.
I was going to say, he was exactly that. I said, don't do it. Well, what if the coach, I said, it doesn't matter. He knows what rules he signed up for. He's going with the rules and all that. Long story short.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that preparation is everything.
Oh, in any sport that you play, everybody tells you, if you don't have the proper technique and the proper training, you're not going to win. In anything that you do in professional sports or even amateur style of fighting or even in basketball, if you're an amateur basketball player or a junior hockey player playing for Team USA, if you're technically not sound, you're not skating 3 hours every day, you're not going to be able to compete with the other guys because they're doing just as much or maybe more. So you have to be 110% consistent.